Welcome to the Hodcast, conversations worth having. Nearly 60,000 people, just like you, have pressed play on these episodes across all of our platforms. But when I look closer at the back-end analytics, less than 1% have actually subscribed. That means that thousands of people are coming back, finding value, but not taking that one small step. And here's the thing. Subscribing isn't about numbers at all. It's not about vanity metrics. It's about building a space where stories of resilience, recovery, and purpose don't just disappear into the noise. A place where authentic people talk about their journey into the workplace and beyond. It's about making sure the next person who needs to hear this finds it. So if you've ever taken something from the Hodcast, or if it's your first time here, hit subscribe, share with a mate, and be part of the 1% that makes it bigger than just a podcast. Enjoy the conversation worth having. Just a quick one. Give me a second to tell you about the proud sponsor of the Hodcast, Site Ready Solutions. In construction, a world where time is tight and quality matters, there's no room for passengers. Site Ready Solutions are changing the game. They're not just getting people into the industry, they're getting them ready to deliver from day one. It all starts in the community, attracting local people who might never have thought of themselves being on a construction site. Then they're given real training, hands-on, hard graft, and to high standards. They're placed where they're needed the most, with the right mindset, skills, and the ability to be productive from day one. Then, importantly, they're retained through ongoing support and mentoring through progression. Because Site Ready Solutions don't just build workers, they build teams, they build trust, and they build futures. From street to site, they're helping everyday people become site-ready professionals, productive, prepared, and proud from the very first day they step on the job. Site Ready Solutions, local people, real skills, day one impact. Visit sitereadysolutions.co.uk and see how they're rebuilding the future of the construction industry, one person at a time. Thanks for listening.
Mate, you've done nearly an hour. Literally, we started and you've done nearly an hour before mentioning
I know.
the ST word.
Oh, it's almost a swear word on the internet at the moment. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know, right? I know. I'm going to cover this up.
Well, we're not going to.
Duct tape.
We're going to get there. Don't worry. We are going to get there. Talk to me about where it came from and what was your first event like?
Right. It depends how far you want to go where it came from, because I always do this and he's going to hate me for it. There's an individual that is so unknown in this world that without his input, and it triangulates, and I'll show you why. Without his input, I personally do not think that SuperTrowel would have happened. And the reason is because of the circumstances that led to myself, Ash, and Joe being in that room together. So, working in FE, working at HRC, we have still got a long-standing relationship with lots of our employers, but one particular employer, which is Winchmore Brickwork. And I'd never met this guy called Lee Campbell, who's now the MD of Winchmore Brickwork, and think the world of him. Lovely guy. I was teaching one day in the workshop. He came in and there was, we know the conversation started with. Let me start again. They walked in the door, and they said, I've had apprentices with you for 15 years now. Coincidentally, when I did my level 3, 3 of the individuals that are in my class have now gone on to be contracts managers, operations manager, and Tobo, who again runs alongside Lee as kind of MD role. And he said, we've had apprentices with you for a day. We need to do more, and you need to show that we've done this for a long period of time. Because coming back to your section 106, you need, and I've learnt so much more about that in the past 4 or 5 years than I even knew about it. It was kind of the first time I'd heard about it, that it's not just now about getting a competitive price. You need to show that you're doing more to impact the local community.
Social value.
And the social value.
Some contractors now place like 30% of their tenders on social value.
Yeah.
That's bonkers.
Yeah. When you look at what social value has become in terms of the fulfillment for it in all different, it's like a spider's web of going off and going, it's not just about recruiting work experience and local labour. You're now needing to provide to local food banks. You need to put on local activities. You do vouchers for this. There's so many different aspects of it. And I'm sure it is the bane of many different social value officers that work for these subbies. But it's there for that reason. And if it's getting more people into the game, then fantastic. However, coming back to when Lee came in, he turned around and said, like, you know, we can do more for you. What, for example, if you was to write your wish list, what do you need at the moment? I'd started a block work unit with the learners, and I said, look, I could do with, you know, a couple of packs of blocks. Now, you know yourself being on big sites. There's always going to be that circumstance where the QS has over-ordered, and they're probably going to be wincing in their seats if they listen to it.
Well, these days, it's actually under-ordering now. Right. But yeah, I know what you mean. At the end of a job or whatever. 6 to 8 packs of bricks left over. What's going to happen with them? They go to landfill, they're going to skip. And it's horrifying that you think, if that contractor went on Google Maps and went, there's a college that's 2 miles away, ring that college up, I will guarantee that they'd find a way of getting them bricks to that college. The college would go, we'll pay for the bloody transport, just, you know, because we've got no resources coming in. So he said, what do you need? What's your wish list? I said, I needed blocks. I think the following day, 12 packs of 100mm concretes turned up from lignocite. And I was like, he said, all I want you to do, and I'd never been on social media apart from a little bit of Facebook, is just want you to, if you wouldn't mind, send me a few pictures and I'll do that. And then kind of, he sent me the link of LinkedIn, and it then grew into, this is brilliant, thanks ever so much. And then the conversation started, and not even slowly, very quickly, you had the companies that were going, this is brilliant, you know, we want to send you stuff, I want to send you this. And that has probably led to, and I'm not exaggerating, more than in the time since 2019, I'd like to say it's probably not going to be far knocking on the door of like £500,000 worth of donations that go in. And that isn't just from the QS overall, that is purely from then companies get going, this is brilliant, we've got this new thing, you know, I work with a lot of the manufacturers and masonry support, so your Keyfix, Leviat, etc. All of these guys, Grayson, that, you know, I know they sponsored bits and pieces for Site Ready, are going, we've got these new products, we want to send them to you, so the learners can literally get hands-on with them. And again, it comes back to how enthusiastic that individual is in the college. So that led on to that. We then, HRC got itself recognised as a good bricklaying department. Fast forward to 2022, I got approached by the Guild of Bricklayers to go, will you hold the London regional heat? Christian, again, I spoke to Christian during lockdown, first time we started speaking, I knew he'd held it at Brooklands College. But they said, would you feel comfortable in holding a regional heat? And I'd never entered learners into a bricklaying competition. And there's good reason for it. I competed in the 2012 Olympics competition, brickwork competition that Bob Nacida put on. Oh, wow.
You had to build the Olympic rings in a wall. And at that time, I think there was a miscommunication. They turned around and said, I'll go along, you've got to build these Olympic rings in a wall. And that was brilliant. I think I saw the drawing a week before and I kind of visualised how I was going to do it. I turned up on the day, everything was already cut. And I was like, this is a dream walking into it. It had been cut on the saw, on the clipper, and I was like, brilliant. So I started building it, and I remember Bob come over to me, first time I'd met him, and he went, are you an apprentice? I'm going to do a crappy impression of Bob now. Are you an apprentice? And I went, no, I'm a fully qualified bricklayer, I teach it. You can't do this, you're in panicking, you can't do this, you're in the wrong competition. And I went, all right, mate, no worries. He went, I've got 3 lads over there. And I looked at these 3 lads that had come from Birmingham and they were literally sitting just with their heads in their hands. Because as a bricklayer, I turned up, set out my first course to the line, built my corners, started running in. And they, bless them, had literally just started setting out the first course, but I'm flying. And I went, I'm really sorry. And he went, no. And he'd come back 15, 20 minutes later and he said, you've got 2 choices. You can either stop what you're doing or you can finish it, but we won't judge it. I was like, well, I've got my day off of work. I'll just finish it. Yeah, so I finished it. But I saw on that day, you know, and it's interesting when we talk about SuperTrowel in a bit, is I always felt that where the host held the competition, they always won the competition. And I always felt that I was like, oh, I really don't want to do it at HRC because I was put learners into the senior junior category, and I was like, yeah, but what about if they win, or what? And there's also pressure. What about if they don't win? Naturally, your college is going. You are putting the best two in, aren't you? You know, as everyone's going to. I was like, yeah. So I held this competition. Started inviting suppliers that I'd worked with, Safe Stand, all of the kind of real people that I'd start to get a good relationship with. Pete Roberts, for example, he was there, and the tool manufacturer, tool distributor SB Tools, he was there, and it was a fantastic day, you know, and everyone had a really good time. Coincidentally, when it came to the results, my learners won the junior and the senior category, and I was like, no. But this, you know, hand on heart, they were exceptionally good, two really good bricklayers that I still speak to now. So fast forward another year.
Everything within me right now is going, oh, so you like fixing it, do you? Like,
so, I mean, I did, you think to yourself, oh, for crying out loud, like, obviously that's, again, an independent judging team, and they judged it all, and it got to me, and I see that the lads had done well. They, you know, one of them had finished the model, and I thought to myself, oh, they may have a chance top three. And then as it crept up, I was like, and I can still remember, I think of the pressure of doing a competition for the first time, I just burst into tears, Sam. Like everyone, like people that know me know I am an emotional wreck. Like nothing sad really gets me, but happy things just tip me over the edge. That's it. And I just start crying. Like I've been on the shoulder before, a weeping mess of fully grown men. So be prepared for that if it happens. So
be out the door, mate. Don't worry.
So I did that the first year. And then the following year, they said, we've already chosen the final, but we'd like you to host it again. I said, okay. So rinse and repeat, did it again. My two learners won it again. But at the 2023 was when I first met Ash and Joe. I'd had a really good relationship with Joe. He'd come in and shown brick jackets to my learners, and we used them in the workshop. Again, going back to, you know, the site-ready solution of teaching people how to store materials and everything. The crap that I used to get on social media because I use a brick jacket in the workshop indoors, and I get bricklayers going, "What are you doing, mate? It's, you know what I mean? It's for outside. Ain't gonna get rain, is it?" You go, "No, but it's to teach them how to load out 96 in a stack, get a cover over the top of it. It's not going to be a trip hazard. It's not going to be this, that." Bricklayers, right? So I had this good relationship with Joe, and then I invited Ash to turn up, and I got talking, and Ash was saying, "Are you aware of Spetmix? Spetmix 500 over in Vegas?" And I said, "Yeah, of course I have." I said, "Like, I remember a couple of theory sessions when that was my theory session, right?" So when you was an apprentice before the days again of Smart Assessor and all these wonderful online platforms, you had to print out your pictures, like I said, in boots, stick them in, and write out what you've done for the week. And I used to get my portfolio out. My tutor would come in, put that on the TV when YouTube was just getting going. I was
going to say, you're watching VHS tapes of Bob Bowl doing his...
No, like, I think YouTube had just started getting going, and he used to stick that on the screen, projector then, and then walk out to class. It was like, and used to watch these phenomenal bricklayers just going for it. So I was aware of it, and he said, "Oh, do you fancy doing it in the UK?" And I said, "Yeah, why not? Do you want to do it here?" And I said, "Yeah, like, you know, I've got to ask a few questions." And fast forward, I think it was about 9 to 10 weeks later, through various support of so many individuals, like my, you know, the head of department, Dave McCarthy, said, "Yeah, I'm up for that." Our fantastic vice principal, Katrina, she had that first vision when I went to her, the Guild of Bricklayers, saying, "Yes, hold a competition here." She was behind it, the head of estates, because you're now doing a competition that's different. You're going from, you've just got colleges, neighbouring colleges that understand all the safeguarding and everything else. So you've now got adults coming on site. It needs to be done when there's no learners there under safeguarding, and there's all these extra things. So I remember going back and looking at numbers, looking at space, and it ended up with like over 500 people being there on the day. Because Ash had said, "Oh, you know, I've taken it out through Bricklayers Social Club, put it to market, and everyone wants to attend. And we've got this many trade stands coming." And I was like, and it was just, I can remember walking out with one of my colleagues at the time, walking into that courtyard. I think Garry attended the first one, but him turning to me, not Garry, my colleague, and going, "What have you done?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, I don't know." Like, it took the competition planning, everything. The three of us had such cohesion and still do bring so many things to that event that made it the first success that it was in an FE college.
Let's fast forward to 2025, because, you know, how do we put this? There's been a lot of noise, certainly on social media, not so much in person, I understand. Some praise, some criticism, some confusion.
Yeah.
What's going on?
So, from what you just said there, some praise, some criticism, and some confusion. For every criticism that we've had, and we've put up with criticism since SuperTrowel was launched with Tony Manning. It's just a slashing game, it's this, it's that. And we worked on that in 22 and in 23, sorry, and then leading into 24. For everything we've had a criticism, one comment, there's 10 of praise that have turned around and gone, this is unbelievable what you've done, what you've done for Bricklaying. And we don't see that, Sam, and that is the truth. You know, three of us by now that we just keep moving, we just keep rolling with it, and we take everything kind of in our stride. The confusion thing is people still doesn't really know where it sits in terms of competition or an event that we see. So when you're trying to say it to people, until they experience it in person, I think that's a really good point that you come back to about AI. We was talking about AI earlier. Is AI is evolving in all different sort of different shapes and forms, but having that experience and an atmosphere, you will never remove from what you get at our event. When it's come to this particular year, obviously, like you say, there are people with their views and different bits and pieces. So let's just focus on the competition for a start, and I'll talk a little bit about how that starts with a competitor. So the competitors apply, and they're given the rules, and they're given the briefing. They attend a regional. So they attend a regional event at colleges with their head judge and with the rest of the judges. At that regional, a briefing takes place where the rules are explained to them comprehensively. They are just taken time, it goes through, you explain what your rules are, explain what you're going to get your deductions for, any questions that you've got are asked, etc., and your appeals procedure. So we have that appeals procedure in place that if you're unsure, you don't agree with it, you can appeal that decision. We've had that since the first SuperTrowel. So that's always been there, but for me at the moment, I think that needs to be highlighted more, that if people haven't taken opportunity to look at their rules and look at the appeals procedure, then there has to be a responsibility that's taken by the competitor on that. We have a responsibility to embed it, and we will certainly be doing improvements on that, on moving forward and making sure that is really reinforced. But you've only got to look at Christian from GSQ. Yeah, at the Subby Cup, I know that he appealed. Yeah. And when it comes to the appeals, we're all bricklayers. So when you get the criticisms of individuals on social media going, these judges just come from their lectures, they don't know anything, they're old, I remember my bricklaying tutor, and you go, you don't understand our judging team. Yes, there are bricklaying lecturers, there are assessors, there are construction managers, there are directors in there are bricklayers that are still on site, there are quality control managers in there. You've got, I was speaking to only one of our judges the other day, I'm not going to mention the individual, works for a tier 1 as a site manager, going, I feel like I want to make a statement. There's always going to be a knee jerk because of pride from both sides, and we get that. But it's also about going, let's slow down and think about what we can do to make this process more transparent so that people understand it. You're looking at the winner of this year's understood that process. The competitor understood the process of the competition thoroughly. Now, you're talking about someone who's thousands of miles away, and he's won the Spec Mix twice. He was very, very quiet.
People don't win Spec Mix twice either, do they? Normally,
no.
I don't think there's been anyone else who has won twice.
I think there has, but he won it in 22, and then 25. Yeah. So not in that close. There was a back-to-back champion actually, which was last year, but yeah, it's very, very rare, and that comes from like when we was contacting and saying, are you coming over to compete? Didn't hear a lot, and then he came over, but not knowing, like the previous competitor that we had from America, Phil Bichetti and Nick, the two brothers, we know that the lengths that they went to get bricks thrown in from Canada to put up with different bricks that they have over there. They're all done in inches, we're done in metric, etc. And there was that communication going on. We didn't have that amount of communication to know how Cole was preparing, but he was obviously preparing because he came over and understood the brief. He understood the competition. And it's really hard when you're dealing with competitors and you're dealing with them emotions and everything else. That's our job moving forward, is to make sure that everyone understands what the expectations are, what the appeals procedure are. You can speak to, when we speak to the judges, they go, look, if they appeal something, 9 times out of 10, it's going to go in the favour of the bricklayer if we can do it. And that's what happened with Christian. You know, it's like he appealed something, it was checked. You're dealing with, you know, 2 representatives that do the appeals, are a skills build judge and a world skills judge. These aren't guys that, you know, they don't understand what they're doing. But you have to abide by the rules and by the appeals procedure. I think, like we were saying earlier, there's a responsibility on us with the competitors themselves when it comes to the main event, where we've gone from holding it in an FE college to now we're in an arena that's got thousands of people. There's a responsibility on us of overexposure of them competitors. I've spoke to a couple of individuals that are well known in social media that have turned around and gone, it took me 20 minutes to get to the competition here because everyone wanted to stop and have a picture with me, talk to me, ask me, and by the time I get there, you're involved in high rocks. I've been around fitness competitions, and you look at those individuals before a competition, they're removed, they don't want to engage, they need to think about physical performance and mental performance as well. So there has to be a responsibility. All right, when it comes to that game day, we have to put you. That morning, I'm sorry.
Do you know what I'm really looking forward to is conferences. So like press conference.
Yeah.
So there'll be like the pre. And I know that sounds daft, but a pre-press conference before.
Yeah.
And you can have you're going to have the press there, but you can also have a viewing gallery or whatever you wanted to have, and then post as well. And I mean, obviously the post one is probably go about the same as like an MMA post one or whatever. Like someone just got knocked out and someone, you know what I mean? And someone won. Like that's how it works, right?
Yeah, it's very difficult for when people are making them comments that they have a platform to do it. And my dear old nan has a great saying that opinions are like people's backsides. Everyone has it, no one wants to hear it. Not everyone wants to hear it. That's the wrong way of saying it. You know, everyone has one, but not everyone wants to hear it. But I think when you've got, like you say, people that weren't even there that are looking on videos and pictures that are not showing, you know, different angles, etc. You know, that I've seen for years, this goes back to something else, is that looking at fitness professionals that take pictures at certain angles and they look, you know, bodybuilders, for example,
they look hench.
They look absolutely enormous. And when you see them, you go, oh my God, you're like, I've seen some phenomenal, and I go, Jesus Christ, you're not that big that I've seen in the pictures. And it's very much contextualised that if you're sitting hundreds of miles away, thousands of miles away, and you're looking at a video, a picture that someone has taken at the right angle, they could have taken it 4 or 5 different times to get that angle. I think that's the wonderful world of social media that can benefit some individuals and sometimes it can't.
Yeah. And there are people making money out of social media. So what a lot of people don't understand is that some people put things on social media. I'm not going to say they are, because it doesn't really matter who they are. It's the process of it, which is the frustrating bit. Yeah. You know, posts drive, content drives engagement. Engagement drives the pound coins. Yeah. Right. So somebody writes something. They've got a big following. They write something or they say something on social media, and the engagement on that goes crazy, which generates the pound coins. Yeah. And I don't begrudge anyone doing that, apart from when it affects people personally and people are going at people personally. I know that you have felt, you know, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty deepness of it right now, or maybe we do. We're running out of time, but time is infinite. We can't run out of time. I'll just pay more money for the studio. But it's when it affects people personally. Yeah. I know that you have had a rough time. You haven't necessarily posted about it on your social media. Yeah. I know that Ash has, and he did post about it on his social media. And that was, even my wife was coming to me saying, Sam, have you seen what's going on social media around SuperTrowel? My wife she literally couldn't care less what I do at work. But she said it's what's going on social media, A, is really compelling to watch, but also I don't know who these people are that they're talking about, but it can't be very nice for them. I was like, okay. I know Joe has been, not great about it. And Peter Roberts is the other one who, people are checking in to see if he's okay.
Yeah.
Because actually, but nobody has done anything wrong. No. People just don't like the decision that was made.
Absolutely.
And I was there. I was probably almost as close as you can possibly be.
Yeah.
And I was standing next to, who's is it your mate from college? Tobo.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, who's going to win, I was like, and we were looking, and I was like, Ash Mahoney has got the tidiest wall here.
Yeah.
That was, and you could see it, you could just see.
Yeah.
But, and I could see Charlie was on the far side, and I could see Charlie, just a machine. He's laying a brick like every 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, that's just going to be a lot of bricks. I don't care who you are, you're going to put down as many bricks as you can. Great.
Yeah.
And then I was looking around, Dale, I think, had a couple of problems with his line, and then some other, he wasn't quite there. He'd had a bunch of stuff, and his tools were nicked a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And all that stuff, and all of that weighs on you. And then I saw Cole, and I looked at it, and I was like, how long's left? And we were like, 5 minutes. He's like, why is he not laying bricks anymore? I was like, I don't know. But he's like knocking his wall in, and he's putting a level all up it. And I'm like, surely, like taking 5 minutes off of your laying time is like, I think it was about 4 minutes. That's going to really impact your score in a negative way. And then like the rest of the guys in the VIP area, that's where I was. Highly recommend, by the way.
Yeah.
We're saying, and then we got chatting. Actually, like maybe people should be doing that. Like, he's obviously, as you say, he's obviously got the brief. He knows what the deductions are going to be for. He knows, and what you're not marking on is the best looking wall. That's not what SuperTrowel is there to. Correct me if I'm wrong. Not the best aesthetically looking wall.
So if you was to base it on that Ash Mahoney one, So Ash Mahoney got least deductions because that's what it's there for, and I think that's why we implemented that this year. Is that was a new category that we put in, because previously we had most bricks laid, which Charlie won, 903.
Yeah.
And then you got the wall that got the least deductions, and rightfully so. And that's awarded to that individual. When you come down to the strategy that Cole had, he knew the strategy. Like, you can't deny that when you go around and he's looking at stuff. And I've heard, various different things of people saying he had people, shouting from the sidelines. He had family members. Now, you can't control that variable, but when you know that they're turning around again, you've got 48 seconds, and that guy knows it takes him 48 seconds to brush his wall. Yeah. That's practice. That's put in. There's a lot of work that's gone in the background to that. Not saying that I know all of the competitors put that amount of work in. But it's just refined. Like, he's been around forever. You talked about lines getting messed up. I know Ash Mahoney has made a public statement saying my lines messed up. If his lines hadn't messed up, could have been a very different story, couldn't it? When you're looking, it was literally 2 bricks between Carl and Charlie that took it. You're like, and it's hard because you're coming back to the appeals procedure. If you don't know if Charlie would have appealed two things, the decision goes the other way. So, like I say, that's... Did
anyone make appeals?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about who made appeals? Did anyone... Would the appeals...
And the appeals are agreed. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the appeals are agreed. We've got the paperwork. Anyone that made an appeal, like I said before, it went in the favour of the bricklayer. And that's something that, we want to make sure that it doesn't go into every bricklayer appealing every single brick that would lead into a 5 or 6 hour judging period. So we need to be conscientious of... you can appeal it, but if it's blatantly, you're building it within 5 mil and it's 7 mil out of plumb, mate, and we can see it's 7 mil by checking, that's yes or no, isn't it?
And I think that's where I do a lot of fitness competitions, and we see appeals from from CrossFit Games sanctionals. So I'm really fortunate to get like a look behind the curtain on that.
Yeah.
And what you can never appeal is somebody else's work.
Yeah.
So you cannot appeal
No.
somebody else's work.
No.
So you can only appeal your deductions
Absolutely.
to get yourself a better score.
100%.
So there's no point whinging on social media about whose wall looks the best. This person definitely won. Of course you think they definitely won because you like them, you know them. You know, it would be like my wife competing in a competition and her losing and me going, well, the other woman was this and that. Of course I think that because I would prefer my wife over the other person. Yeah. Of course I'm going to think that.
Yeah.
And I get it. I genuinely do get it. But what I don't...
But as you say, when then it starts affecting individuals coming back to, and I think when that for us is very, very difficult to digest. That's very difficult to absorb because you mentioned, about Ash, you mentioned about Pete, you mentioned about all of us, is when you're getting thrown at you that, you're lying in your pockets. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting because as you well know, the three of us, Sam, we have to do, different agreements with different people just to make things happen. Yeah. And you go, if we were cash rich to be able to do that, that's great. But still, to this day, we haven't taken a penny out.
I did some sort of back of an envelope maths on it, and there is not a chart. And this is just my back of an envelope maths. But Ash was talking about roughly what the turnover is. Yeah. Right. So if you're talking about 20% of that turnover at the absolute maximum, you're looking at just under 100 grand. Yeah. Maybe just over, just under 100 grand. Right. So even between the three of you, split three ways, that's still only 30 grand. And I know that sounds, it's only 30 grand, but that's a year's worth of work between two competitions. Right. Yeah. I know that that's not what but nobody ever makes 20% anywhere. No. Right. So it's going to look at least like 10%, which then looks like 15 grand. Well, then you've got the costs of all of the things that have happened. Yeah. Not just time costs of yourself and Ash and Joe and whoever else works on the thing with you, but also you've got all of the other stuff. And the investment for next year, because your venues are going to want paying beforehand. The NAC is going to want paying now if you want to book it for next year. Yeah, you're going to, and
can't start from scratch every year.
Exactly.
It just doesn't work like that.
So the idea of people saying, "Oh, you're lying in your pockets," I think is just stupid. I mean, and I'll happily go out on social media saying that's dumb.
It's interesting that people say, you're lying in your pockets, and you think to yourself, well, today I've had to change my day off that I have agreed with the college. I only work 4 days a week. Is that I've had to change that day off to be here today. You have to then go, Ash is on site, Joe is starting another project on site and that's how it is. We all still have our full-time jobs. And I think that I come back to Sam is turning around and going for every negative comment, there's 10 positive ones. Is that 100% is what drives us on. And that's not just from your big companies that that have formed a real trust with us and a good relationship with us. Excuse me. Oh God,
love it.
That's because I'm hungry. See,
that's making the highlight reel.
It's not just because of them big companies that are going. That we've had to work at. Would you come and exhibit? We had a fantastic time. We've never engaged with our end users like that. This is great. This is completely different to anything we do, and that is our USP. Is We've always turned around and said, look, forget all of the noise of turning around and going about competition, about everything else. We always wanted to create an experience that it didn't matter if you was that 4-year-old that works with dad that took his wall down last weekend and he's going to that bricklaying show, or coming out the other end, the Bob Nacida that's worked in the industry for decades.
Since the world was square and dinosaurs roamed the earth. Sorry, Bob.
Yes, sorry, Bob. Since they, learnt how to fire lumps of clay, it didn't matter what age bracket you're in. You came to that event and you was like, it's been a fantastic day because I've come to see, great competition. That there's a lot of now chat around. Like you turned around and said your wife's interested in it. I literally sat in a coffee shop over the weekend and a guy, I think I had a t-shirt on, and this guy went, what do you think of the decision then? And I was like, hey? And he was like, what do you think of the decision? Do you run it? And I was like, yeah, I'm one of them. And I was like, what's happened here? You get people that talk about, even my nan, my 93-year-old nan, I gave her my iPad and I said, Nan, tune into the live stream, right? And went and saw her, and I said, "What did you think, Nan?" Well, I tell you what, and she's just then gone off. She watched the odd carrier competition, then she had to go and get her hair done. And then when she said, "This is what's done me, Sam,"
The
and she come
social
back
calendar
in,
that
it's
your
done
nan
me.
has.
And my nan is, you know, she can be how can I put her vocabulary? It's a bit limited at times. I don't know if you allow swearing on the podcast, but she.
You have already been there, so don't worry about
Have
that.
I? Oh, okay. I come back in and I said, "What did you think, Nan?" And she said, "I cannot believe how many fucking bricks they put down in an hour." And I went, "I know, Nan." And 93, and she's like 5 foot nothing. I went, "I know, Nan." She was like, "What?" And and you think that audience, the more people that are talking about it, which then leads to people being interested. And I see some great reels from companies going, you know, this is brilliant, this many bricklayers coming together. And you go, bloody right it is. This is what we always wanted to do, is have an occasion, an event where it gets all of these people together that, you know, you was part of the whole process, Sam. And publicly, I want to say thank you so much for, when we approached you and Garry to go, look, we'd like Sam to do this, is we knew it was going to be good. We knew your DJing was going to be unreal. And it was, mate. The atmosphere that you created, your attention to detail on the tracks, not just that, but in the bit that you did in the evening as well. You know, that's fantastic. You know, and it builds on, and it's those sorts of things that how comfortable you're feeling now, and you may be feeling a little bit uncomfortable with the confidence you get. We get it all the time, but it drives you on because you know we are doing something that's worth investing in and worth, regardless of all the noise of that's come out of the competition. That's then going to next year hopefully get people to read everything thoroughly, engage with it. We've already seen the regionals of people entering the regionals has gone off the charts. We're nearly full, and we're not
more
even,
regionals.
And you go, if that many people are interested in competing and really putting their pride into what they do, then it's got to be a good thing, right?
In case you didn't know, in construction, trust is everything. You trust your team to show up. You trust your tools to perform, and when the pressure's on, you trust your supplier to deliver. That's where Grayson Building Products come in. They've been doing this since 1921, and they've built more than just a business. They've built relationships, expertise, and a reputation that is earned, not claimed. With over 50,000 products in stock and a team of specialists who genuinely understand the craft, Grayson is there. Not just when you order, but when things get complex. It's more than just a price. It's partnership. It's peace of mind. If you want a supplier that moves like part of your team, visit grayson.gb.com and see what real service feels like. Yeah, and bring it back to like the training element of it. Like I saw kids there that can be no older than 5 years old, from 10-year-olds to 15-year-olds, glued to the thing. Literally glued to it. They had like T-shirts with their bricklayers' names on it, like that they'd made at home. They had banners. It's like watching Gladiators. Do you know what I mean? Like these bricklayers could be that for the next generation of the trades, which I think is fantastic.
Like I know companies that GSQ including that turn around and went, we're sending a minibus with all of our lads in. Do you know? And you think, bloody hell, to have that amount of dedication that it could impact on your, your progress on site. I think that's massive. I think the next milestone for myself as an individual will be seeing someone that's competed in the juniors then compete in the Pro Series or the Masters, because we know the Masters this year was
Mate, that was next level.
Yeah.
That was next. I'd never seen brickwork like that before in my life.
And again, that came
never. And I work on building sites day in, day out.
Mate, that purely came from how do we shape it? We listen to what people say in the survey. So when we listen to people in the survey saying, I'd really like to see that, it was like, brilliant, we'll just make it happen. We got some other interesting things that they're a bit too early to say about what are going to be featuring next year. But again, it's based on the feedback.
You robbed one of my ideas, just saying. But, whatever.
Which one?
No. We'll leave it as a secret. But I had an idea with Garry the other day. And then apparently Garry rings you 10 minutes later saying, I've had this idea. Like, to be fair, he did say, like,
right, okay.
I do know.
And I think that's brilliant, and it's fantastic to be able to display that. I think the ideas that are coming forward,
don't announce it yet.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Sort of hinted at it.
The collaboration we've now got with Skill Build is going that Skill Build are going to be holding their final in the neighbouring hall. So there's that clear divide between the two events, but you can go and watch what your next generation are creating, not just for bricklaying, but for across 10 trades.
That's amazing.
And you go, that's fantastic that they, again, them individuals, them young people, get the exposure they rightfully deserve.
Well, full circle. I've had enough of SuperTrowel now until next year, until the regional start.